The diplomatic chamber of the Galactic Council on Arkan Prime buzzed with tension. Holographic displays shimmered across the curved ceiling, depicting hundreds of star systems that formed the Interplanetary Alliance, a complex political space fraught with millennia of conflicts and alliances. Representatives from a dozen species shifted uneasily in their ergonomically designed seats, their expressions ranging from concern to outright suspicion. Admiral Kyla Rostov stood at attention near the back of the chamber, her Earth Fleet uniform, a stark contrast to the flowing garments of the Council representatives. Her weathered face remained impassive, though her steel-gray eyes missed nothing. At 53, she'd spent most of her adult life as a bridge between Earth and the wider galactic community, a community that still viewed humans with a mixture of fascination and fear. Deathworlders, they called her kind. Those born on planets with extreme gravity, harsh climates, and aggressive evolutionary pressures. Earth, with its diverse ecosystems and relatively high gravity, had produced a species that many in the Council viewed as potentially dangerous, resilient to the point of seeming indestructible by the standards of species evolved in gentler environments. The observation vessel UDF Vanguard continues its peaceful mission along the Richter III reversal, announced the Council speaker, a tall, willowy Centaurian whose luminescent skin pulsed with each word. Earth's probationary observer status remains unchanged for the 79th cycle. Admiral Rostov suppressed a sigh. 79 years of peaceful contact and still humanity remained on the periphery of galactic politics. The Vanguard, their flagship observer vessel, was little more than a glorified diplomatic courier with minimal defensive capabilities, a requirement for species not yet granted full membership. Near the central communication hub adjacent to the chamber, Trellis Vaughn, a young Luminan technician with iridescent, almost translucent skin, monitored the incoming transmissions. His six-fingered hands danced across the control surfaces with practiced precision, his large violet eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. As the newest addition to the Council's communication team, Trellis took his responsibilities with utmost seriousness. The transmission alert flashed across his display, urgent priority. Trellis's crest of sensory filaments stiffened in alarm as he processed the message. Without hesitation, he activated the direct line to the Council chamber. "Emergency transmission incoming." His voice trembled slightly as it echoed through the diplomatic chamber. Source: Lumina Central Command. Classification: Omega Priority. The holographic display above the Council table shifted, and the image of Ambassador Alara Vox, senior diplomatic representative of Lumina, appeared. Her usually composed features were contorted with fear, her luminescent skin pulsing rapidly with distress. "To any who received this message, Lumina is under attack." Her voice cracked with emotion. "The Crimson Swarm has breached our outer defenses. Our planetary shields are failing. We—" Static interrupted her words. "We request immediate intervention under Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Treaty. Please." More static. "Millions of lives are at stake." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. The head counselor, an ancient Verdani, whose bark-like skin bore the marks of centuries, slowly rose from his seat. "This is most concerning. The Crimson Swarm has not been seen in this sector for 3 generations. Admiral Rostov stepped forward. "Counselor, with respect, this requires immediate action. The Luminans are a peaceful species with minimal defensive capabilities. If the Crimson Swarm has truly launched a full invasion, we are aware of the implications, Admiral." The counselor interrupted, his tone measured. "However, protocol dictates that we must verify the authenticity of this distress call, convene the Defense Committee and assess the appropriate response. The process will begin immediately. By then, Lumina could be lost." Rostov countered, her voice tight with restraint. "The nearest Alliance defense fleet is stationed at Proxima Centauri, at least 4 days from Lumina, at maximum speed." The Verdani counselor's expression hardened. "What would you suggest, Admiral, your single observation vessel against a Crimson Swarm armada?" Rostov straightened her decision already made. No, counselor. I suggest the Earth Fleet. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. The Earth Fleet is not recognized by this council as an official defense force, the counselor stated coldly. Your species' militarization is precisely why Earth remains under probationary status. 200 ships, counselor. Rostov continued undeterred. 200 ships with crews trained in combat conditions that your forces haven't faced in generations. We can reach Lumina within 18 hours. This is unprecedented. The Council cannot authorize. I'm not asking for authorization, Rostov interrupted, knowing the diplomatic breach she was committing. I'm informing you of Earth's intention to respond to an ally's distress call, as is our right under the Observer Agreement of 2192 Section 12, which permits independent action in response to imminent humanitarian crises. The chamber erupted in voices of protest and support. Rostov turned away, activating her neural communicator with a subtle gesture. Vanguard Command, this is Admiral Rostov. Activate Emergency Protocol Titan. Authentication code, Echo November, Zulu 379 Delta. The response was immediate. Authentication confirmed, Admiral. Emergency Protocol Titan activated. Behind her, the Council continued its heated debate, but Rostov knew the die was cast. Earth Fleet would answer Lumina's call, regulations be damned. As she strode from the chamber, Trellis Vaughn hurried to catch up with her. Admiral, he said, breathless with excitement and fear, I've received additional data packets from Lumina. Tactical information about the swarm's positioning. Rostov nodded sharply. Come with me. You know your people's defense systems better than anyone here. Together, they headed toward the docking bay, where Rostov's shuttle awaited. Across the vast distances of space, 200 Earth vessels were receiving the emergency signal, preparing for what would be humanity's first major engagement in galactic warfare. The Lambda 9 jump point, a nexus of space-time distortion, located 3 light-years from Lumina's star system, flickered with energy as ship after ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Earth Fleet, a collection of vessels ranging from nimble frigates to massive carriers assembled in predetermined formation, their sleek hulls bearing the distinctive insignia of Earth's United Defense Force. Admiral Rostov stood on the bridge of the UDF Thermopylae, a battle cruiser that had been retrofitted from a colony ship, a testament to humanity's adaptability. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing the positions of all 200 vessels as they finalized their formation. All ships report ready, Admiral, announced her executive officer, Commander Saito. Kinetic torpedoes have been calibrated to penetrate energy shielding, according to the specifications provided by Technician Vaughn. Trellis Vaughn, still somewhat overwhelmed by the military efficiency surrounding him, nodded from his temporary station. The Crimson Swarm relies heavily on dispersed energy shields. Your projectile weapons should be effective if you can synchronize impacts to overwhelm localized defenses. Captain Mira Taylor, the fleet's tactical officer, stepped forward. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her expression intensely focused. Admiral, I propose we implement the slashing strike maneuver, divide our forces into 5 branches to approach from multiple vectors. It will force them to spread their defensive capabilities. Rostov examined the tactical display, where the Lumina system was represented as a 3-dimensional grid. The Crimson Swarm vessels, nearly 300 of them, swarmed in orbit around the planet, their formation resembling the insectoid species that crewed them. Approved, Captain. Divide the fleet as recommended. We'll converge at these coordinates. She marked several points on the display. Lieutenant Ramirez, is your stealth squadron prepared? Lieutenant Hal, Ghost, Ramirez, a man whose perpetually calm demeanor belied his reputation as the fleet's most daring pilot, stepped forward. Yes, Admiral. 6 stealth corvettes, all equipped with the electromagnetic disruptors. If we can get close enough to their command structure, we can temporarily blind their network. That's your primary objective. Captain Taylor will coordinate the main assault to provide you with the distraction you need. In the adjacent medical bay, Dr. Jonas Patel supervised the final preparations for what would inevitably be a flood of casualties. The medical officer born and raised in the high-gravity colonies of Jupiter's moons moved with practiced efficiency despite his bulk. "Chief Engineer Liu, are the portable regeneration units modified for Luminan physiology?" he asked. Chief Engineer Kara Liu, a woman whose slight build concealed remarkable strength, nodded as she calibrated the final device. According to Technician Vaughn's specifications, yes. Their cellular structure is similar enough to human tissue that our standard procedures should work, but I've adjusted the radiation frequencies to account for their bioluminescent properties. Patel nodded, his expression grim. "We're anticipating thousands of injured civilians. The swarm doesn't discriminate between military and civilian targets." "The shuttle bay has been converted to a triage center," Liu assured him. "We can handle up to 3,000 patients if necessary." On the bridge, Admiral Rostov faced a moment of quiet reflection amidst the preparations. The weight of her decision pressed against her consciousness. She had potentially sacrificed Earth's political standing with the Galactic Council. If they failed here, humanity might face sanctions or even expulsion from the Alliance. But the alternative, standing by while an entire civilization was exterminated, was unthinkable. Admiral Trellis approached hesitantly. "I've just received updated scans from Lumina. The swarm has already landed ground forces in our southern hemisphere. Our resistance fighters are engaging them, but—" His voice trailed off. Rostov placed a hand on the young Luminan's shoulder, feeling the slight tremor in his frame. "We'll get there in time, Trellis. Your people are stronger than you know." "Jump drives charged and synchronized across the fleet," Commander Saito reported. "Ready on your command." Rostov took her position at the center of the bridge. "All vessels prepare for combat jump. Our mission is clear. Break the swarm's orbital control, eliminate their command structure, and provide immediate support to ground forces. Remember, we're fighting for the survival of an entire species today." She paused, looking at the determined faces of her crew. "Engage jump drives. Let's bring Earth's answer to Lumina." In a synchronized flash of energy, 200 vessels disappeared from the Lambda 9 point. Moments later, they emerged in Lumina's orbit, immediately assuming their 5-pronged attack formation. The sight that greeted them was one of ongoing devastation. The Crimson Swarm vessels, organic-looking craft that resembled massive insects with glowing red highlights, had formed a blockade around the planet. Below, the once pristine surface of Lumina was marred by dark scorch marks where bombardments had struck. The planet's famous crystal cities, architectural marvels that channeled and amplified the natural bioluminescence of the Luminan people, now flickered like dying stars. "All ships weapons free," Rostov commanded. "Implement slashing strike." The Earth fleet surged forward, dividing into 5 distinct attack formations that approached the swarm blockade from different angles. The swarm, momentarily disoriented by the arrival of unexpected opposition, scrambled to reorient their defenses. "Ghost Squadron, you have your window," Captain Taylor's voice came through clear on the command channel. Lieutenant Ramirez and his 5 stealth corvettes vessels, designed with experimental technology that absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them, slipped through the chaos of the initial engagement. Their sleek, matte black hulls were nearly invisible against the backdrop of space, detectable only by the most sophisticated tracking systems. "Stay tight, Ghosts," Ramirez instructed his squadron. "We're aiming for the central command node, that cluster of larger vessels at coordinates 27 Mark IV. The 6 corvettes weaved through the ongoing battle with remarkable precision. Around them, Earth vessels engaged the swarm ships with a combination of kinetic weapons and focused energy beams. Unlike many species in the Alliance who relied predominantly on energy-based weapons, humans had maintained and refined projectile technology, which proved surprisingly effective against the swarm's defenses. On the bridge of the Thermopylae, Admiral Rostov watched the unfolding battle with intense focus. Status of the primary engagement. "Our forward elements have broken through their outer defensive line," Commander Saito reported. "Casualties at 12% within acceptable parameters. The swarm appears to be concentrating their forces to protect their command structure. As anticipated, Captain Taylor, initiate Phase 2. Captain Taylor nodded sharply, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. All vessels in Branches 2 and 4 execute Hammer and Anvil. Branches 1, 3, and 5 maintain pressure on the defensive perimeter. The Earth Fleet's 2nd and 4th branches abruptly altered their course, diving beneath the plane of the main engagement, to emerge on the opposite side, effectively surrounding a significant portion of the swarm fleet. Caught between the two forces, the swarm vessels began to take heavy damage. Meanwhile, Ghost Squadron had reached their target. The massive command ships of the Crimson Swarm clustered together, their energy shields forming a cohesive defensive bubble. Preparing to deploy disruptors, Ramirez announced calmly. All units synchronize on my mark. 6 corvettes positioned themselves at equidistant points around the command cluster. Each carried a specialized device designed to interfere with the swarm's neural network, a technology that Earth scientists had developed after studying samples of swarm technology recovered from previous incursions. 3, 2, 1 mark. Simultaneously, the corvettes launched their disruptors devices that emitted a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse designed to temporarily paralyze the swarm's hive-mind communication network. As they detonated, a wave of invisible energy swept through the command cluster. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The swarm vessels, previously moving with coordinated precision, suddenly lurched in disarray. Some simply drifted, their propulsion systems inactive, while others began firing randomly, occasionally striking their own allied ships. Disruptors successful. Ramirez reported, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from his voice. Command network is down. Estimated recovery time 8 minutes. All vessels, this is Admiral Rostov. The enemy is vulnerable. Concentrate fire on their command ships. This is our opportunity to break their hold on Lumina. The Earth fleet responded with devastating efficiency. Kinetic torpedoes, massive projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, struck the now unshielded command ships in coordinated volleys. The organic-looking vessels shuddered under the impacts, their hulls buckling and rupturing. On the Thermopylae's bridge, Trellis watched in amazement as the swarm forces that had seemed unstoppable mere hours ago now fell into disarray. "They're retreating," he exclaimed, as several swarm vessels broke from the engagement, accelerating away from Lumina. Admiral Rostov nodded, but her expression remained grim. "Only a portion of their fleet. The battle isn't won yet." She turned to Commander Saito. "Status of our forces. 23 ships heavily damaged, 8 destroyed," he reported solemnly. "Casualty reports still coming in." "And the swarm. Approximately 40% of their vessels destroyed or disabled. Another 15% appear to be retreating. The remainder are regrouping around the flagship." The largest of the swarm vessels, a massive construct nearly twice the size of the Thermopylae, was gathering the scattered forces around it. Its hull pulsed with ominous red light, and energy readings from it were off the charts. "They're preparing for a counterattack," Captain Taylor observed. "That flagship has enough firepower to punch through our lines if they concentrate their remaining forces." Admiral Rostov studied the tactical display, her mind racing through potential strategies. The Earth fleet had the advantage now, but they had already suffered significant losses. A direct confrontation with the swarm flagship could be devastating. Admiral Trellis spoke up, his voice stronger than before. "The flagship, it's positioning itself above our northern hemisphere. That's where our largest population centers are located, including our planetary shield generators." Rostov's eyes narrowed. "They're going to make a final push to knock out your defenses completely." She turned to Captain Taylor. "Bring all available ships to these coordinates. We need to intercept that flagship before it can position itself for a planetary bombardment." "Ghost Squadron reporting in," Ramirez's voice came through. "We've sustained damage but remain operational. Awaiting orders." "Lieutenant, I need your squadron to make another run. This time target the flagship's propulsion systems. We need to immobilize it." "Understood, Admiral. We're on our way." As the Earth fleet repositioned to confront the swarm flagship, the battle entered its most critical phase. The remaining swarm vessels formed a protective screen around their command ship, their formation once again displaying the coordinated precision that made them such formidable opponents. "They've recovered from the disruption faster than expected," Commander Saito noted with concern. "Then we'll hit them again harder this time." Rostov's voice was steel. "All vessels prepare for coordinated barrage. Target designations are being transmitted now." The Earth fleet's remaining ships, approximately 170 vessels of varying sizes, moved into position. Despite their losses, they maintained disciplined formation, a testament to the rigorous training that Earth forces underwent. Admiral Chief Engineer Liu's voice came through on the command channel. "I've been analyzing the swarm flagship's energy emissions. There's a pattern to their shield modulation, a slight fluctuation every 73 seconds. If we time our attack precisely, we could penetrate their shields at the moment of vulnerability," Rostov finished. "Excellent work, Chief. Transmit your findings to all ships. Captain Taylor, coordinate the timing." As the fleet prepared for this synchronized attack, Ghost Squadron approached the swarm flagship from below, taking advantage of the massive vessel's blind spots. Their stealth technology, while not perfect, gave them the edge they needed to approach undetected. "Target acquired," Ramirez reported. "Propulsion nodes identified, preparing to fire." The 6 corvettes launched their remaining disruptors, aiming for the pulsing red nodes that powered the flagship's massive engines. 5 struck true, sending cascading failures through the propulsion system. The flagship shuddered, its forward momentum arrested. "Direct hit," Ramirez confirmed. "Their propulsion is down, but they've detected us, taking evasive action." The swarm vessels closest to the flagship immediately turned their attention to the suddenly visible corvettes, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons. 2 of the Earth vessels erupted in balls of flame as direct hits overwhelmed their defenses. Ghost 3 and 5 down. Ramirez reported, his voice tight with restrained emotion. Remaining units withdrawing to safe distance. On the Thermopylae, Admiral Rostov acknowledged the report with a grim nod. The loss of each ship and crew weighed heavily, but there would be time for mourning later. "All vessels prepare for final assault. Synchronize weapons to Chief Liu's calculations." The Earth fleet moved into its final attack formation, a spherical arrangement surrounding the immobilized swarm flagship and its protective screen. Each ship adjusted its weapon systems to fire at precisely the moment when the flagship's shields would be at their weakest. "Shield fluctuation in 10 seconds. Captain Taylor announced, counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire." In a breathtaking display of coordinated warfare, 170 ships fired simultaneously. Kinetic torpedoes, energy beams, and specialized disruptors all struck the swarm flagship at exactly the same moment, catching it during the millisecond when its shields reconfigured. The result was catastrophic for the swarm. Their flagship's shields collapsed entirely, allowing the barrage to strike directly at its vital systems. Explosions rippled across its massive hull, and internal detonations tore through its structure. "Direct hits confirmed." Commander Saito reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. "Their flagship is critically damaged." The effect on the remaining swarm forces was immediate. Without the coordinating influence of their command ship, their formation dissolved into chaos. Some vessels continued to fight, while others began to retreat, their actions no longer part of a coherent strategy. "They're breaking," Captain Taylor confirmed. "Swarm vessels are withdrawing from Lumina orbit." A cheer erupted on the Thermopylae's bridge, quickly contained as professionalism reasserted itself. Admiral Rostov allowed herself a small smile, the first since the crisis began. "Maintain positions," she ordered. "Ensure all swarm vessels leave the system. Captain Taylor, coordinate with planetary defense forces to target any remaining ground forces." Trellis, who had watched the battle with a mixture of awe and horror, now turned to Rostov with tears in his luminescent eyes. "Admiral, you've saved my world. How can we ever repay this debt?" Rostov shook her head. "There is no debt between allies, Technician Vaughn. We did what any member of the galactic community should do when another is threatened. As the swarm forces retreated from Lumina, the full extent of the crisis became clear. While the orbital battle had been won, significant damage had been done to the planet's surface. The crystal cities had suffered bombardment, and swarm ground forces had established footholds in several regions. Dr. Patel, Rostov, called over the comm. Prepare your medical teams for immediate deployment to the surface. Coordinate with Luminon authorities to prioritize areas with the highest civilian casualties. Already underway, Admiral, Patel responded. We've established communication with Luminon medical centers. The first shuttles are launching now. Over the next 24 hours, Earth Fleet personnel worked tirelessly alongside Luminon forces to secure the planet. Dr. Patel led teams of medical staff who treated thousands of injured civilians and military personnel, while engineers under Kara Lu's direction helped restore critical infrastructure. Admiral Rostov, after ensuring that the swarm had truly retreated from the system, finally allowed herself to address the political implications of her actions. She opened a channel to the Galactic Council. The holographic display on the Thermopylae bridge flickered to life, showing the council chamber on Arkan Prime. The gathered representatives wore expressions ranging from shock to grudging respect. Admiral Rostov, the Verdani head counselor, began his tone measured. The council has been monitoring the situation at Lumina. Your unauthorized intervention has resulted in an outcome that few believed possible. The Earth Fleet responded to a humanitarian crisis counselor, as was our right under the Observer Agreement. A rather liberal interpretation of that agreement, the counselor noted dryly. Nevertheless, the facts are clear. The Crimson Swarm has been repelled, and Lumina saved from potential extinction. For this, the Council extends its appreciation. Rostov inclined her head slightly, recognizing that this was as close to approval as she was likely to receive. Will the Council now authorize a formal alliance response to secure Lumina against further attacks? The counselor shifted uncomfortably. That matter is under discussion. In the meantime, the Earth Fleet is permitted to maintain a presence in the Lumina system until Alliance forces can be dispatched. Thank you, Counselor. I'll provide regular updates on the situation. As the transmission ended, Commander Saito approached. That went better than expected. They're practical, if nothing else, Rostov replied. They couldn't condemn us without condemning themselves for their inaction. She paused, looking at the tactical display where the remaining Earth vessels maintained their protective formation around Lumina. What's our final casualty count? Saito's expression sobered. 32 ships lost. Approximately 4,000 personnel. Another 8,000 injured. Rostov closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of each life lost under her command. Ensure that all notifications are handled personally, not by automated systems, and arrange a memorial service once we've stabilized the situation here. Yes, Admiral. In the weeks that followed, the situation on Lumina gradually improved. The remaining swarm ground forces were eliminated, and the planet cities began the long process of reconstruction. Throughout this period, Earth vessels maintained their protective presence, a visible symbol of humanity's commitment to their Luminon allies. The Galactic Council, meanwhile, found itself forced to reconsider its stance on Earth's status within the Alliance. The swift and effective response of the Earth Fleet had demonstrated both humanity's military capabilities and their willingness to use that strength in defense of others, a combination that commanded new respect, if also continued caution. 2 months after the Battle of Lumina, a formal ceremony was held in the capital city of Lumina Prime. The Crystal Spire, the tallest structure in the city, and miraculously spared from serious damage during the swarm attack, glowed with all the colors of the spectrum, as Luminon officials gathered to honor their saviors. Admiral Rostov, accompanied by the key officers of her fleet, stood on a platform constructed for the occasion. Before her stretched a vast plaza filled with thousands of Luminons, their naturally bioluminescent skin creating a sea of gentle shifting light. The Luminon Chancellor, a dignified figure whose age was evident in the deepened blue tones of her skin, stepped forward. Admiral Rostov, officers of Earth Fleet, citizens of humanity today, Lumina formally recognizes the debt we owe to your kind. When we faced extinction, you answered our call without hesitation at great cost to yourselves. She gestured to the side where a veiled monument stood. This shall stand as an eternal reminder of your sacrifice and courage. The veil fell away, revealing a towering sculpture of crystalline material that captured and amplified light. It depicted human and luminen figures standing together in a protective circle facing outward, a symbol of united defense. The Deathworlders' shield, the Chancellor announced. May it remind all who see it that strength used in defense of others is the noblest strength of all. Admiral Rostov stepped forward to accept the honor, her normally stoic expression softening. Chancellor, citizens of Lumina, on behalf of Earth and all humanity, I thank you for this recognition. But know that we did only what we believed right. In the face of aggression, indifference is complicity. We could not stand by while your world burned. She looked out at the gathered crowd, seeing in their luminescent faces a future where humanity's strength might be viewed not with fear, but with gratitude. Today marks a new chapter in the relationship between our peoples. Earth stands ready to continue our support as you rebuild and to stand with you against any future threats. As she spoke, a communication alert chimed softly in her neural implant. Maintaining her composed expression, she accessed the message, a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. The content was unexpected. Earth's application for full membership status, previously stalled for decades, had been approved for expedited consideration. The unprecedented measure had received support from over 70% of member worlds, with Lumina leading the advocacy. Rostov allowed herself a small smile as she continued her address. Together, we have demonstrated that the true measure of a civilization is not found in its technology or its age, but in its willingness to stand for what is right, regardless of the cost. This is the legacy we will build upon, a legacy of courage, compassion, and unwavering support for those in need. The crowd erupted in applause, the sound amplified by the unique acoustics of the Crystal Spire. As it gradually subsided, the Luminan Chancellor spoke again. Admiral, we have received concerning reports from our long-range outposts. It appears that the Crimson Swarm, though defeated here, has altered course toward the Proxima system. They may be seeking easier targets. Rostov exchanged glances with her officers. The Proxima system housed several developing civilizations under Alliance protection, species even more vulnerable than the Luminans. Chancellor, with your permission, the Earth fleet will depart within 24 hours to intercept the swarm before they can threaten another world. A small contingent will remain here to assist with your ongoing security needs. The Chancellor nodded gravely. Permission granted, Admiral. And know that though our military capabilities are limited, Lumina stands ready to provide any support we can offer. Perhaps our scientists can assist yours in developing more effective countermeasures against the swarm's technology. We would welcome such collaboration, Rostov replied. This is how the Alliance grows stronger, each species contributing their unique strengths. As the ceremony concluded, Trellis Vaughn approached Admiral Rostov. The young technician had changed in the months since the crisis began, his posture more confident, his manner more assured. Admiral, I have submitted a formal request to join your fleet as a technical liaison, he said. My experience with both Luminan and Earth technologies could be valuable in the coming conflict. Rostov smiled warmly. Request approved, Technician Vaughn. We'll be honored to have you aboard. Report to the Thermopylae at 0800 tomorrow. Thank you, Admiral. Trellis hesitated, then added, When I first met you, I believed what many in the Alliance said about humans, that your evolution on a high-gravity, high-competition world made you inherently dangerous. I now understand that the same traits that make you formidable opponents also make you invaluable allies. A fair assessment, Rostov acknowledged. Every species is shaped by its origins. Earth taught humanity to be survivors, yes, but also to recognize the value of cooperation and mutual support. These are the lessons we bring to the wider galaxy. Later aboard the Thermopylae, Admiral Rostov convened a meeting with her senior staff to plan their approach to the new threat. The ship's conference room was filled with officers displaying the focused energy that came from a challenging but successful mission. "The swarm has adapted to our tactics," Captain Taylor noted, reviewing the intelligence gathered during the Battle of Lumina. "Their command ships have already implemented countermeasures against our disruptors." "Then we adapt in turn," Rostov replied. "Chief Liu worked with Technician Vaughn to develop the next generation of disruptors. The swarm may learn quickly, but so do we." "Already on it," Admiral Liu confirmed. "The Luminan scientists have provided invaluable insights into the neurological structure of the swarm hive mind. We're exploring frequencies that could cause more permanent disruption." Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "Admiral, I'd like to address our medical preparedness. The casualties at Lumina stretched our resources to the limit. If we're facing another major engagement, we need to expand our medical capacity." "Agreed. Requisition whatever personnel and equipment you need. I'll sign off on it personally." Rostov turned to Commander Saito. "What's the status of our fleet repairs?" "Better than expected. Luminan crystal-based technology has accelerated our repair schedule. We'll have 185 vessels combat-ready within 18 hours. Rostov nodded, satisfied. "And our new recruits?" "Over 2,000 Luminan volunteers have requested to join Earth Fleet in various capacities," Saito reported with a touch of surprise. "Primarily in technical and medical roles, but some in combat positions as well. Process them according to standard procedures, but expedite where possible. We can conduct additional training en route to Proxima." As the meeting continued, Lieutenant Ramirez brought up the tactical display, showing the swarm's projected course. "They're moving slowly, Admiral, almost cautiously. It's unlike their usual behavior pattern." "They've never encountered resistance like ours before," Rostov observed. "We've made them wary, which gives us an advantage. They'll be expecting us now, but uncertainty can be as effective a weapon as any in our arsenal." The plan that emerged from the meeting was both bold and measured a multi-phase approach that would leverage Earth Fleet's newfound alliance with Lumina, while addressing the evolved tactics of the swarm. As the officers dispersed to implement their assigned tasks, Admiral Rostov remained behind, studying the galactic map. The swarm's movement pattern suggested a larger strategy, one that potentially threatened multiple Alliance worlds. If Earth could prove pivotal in countering this threat, it would irrevocably change humanity's standing in the galactic community. From feared outsiders to essential defenders in less than a year, a dramatic shift in perception that even Rostov had not anticipated. Her neural implant chimed again, another message from the Galactic Council. This time, it contained a formal request for Earth Fleet to operate under Alliance authority in coordinating the defense of the Proxima sector. The Council, it seemed, had recognized the value of what many had previously feared, the Deathworlders' natural capacity for warfare, now channeled toward protection rather than conquest. Admiral Rostov composed her response carefully. Earth would cooperate with Alliance forces, but would maintain operational autonomy. The lessons of Lumina were too fresh to surrender command to a council that had hesitated when decisive action was needed. As she sent the message, Rostov gazed out at the crystalline spires of Lumina Prime, glittering in the light of their sun. The Deathworlders' shield monument was visible even from orbit, a permanent reminder of what had been accomplished here. Not just a military victory, but a fundamental shift in how humanity might be perceived throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," Commander Saito's voice interrupted her thoughts. "The Luminan Chancellor is requesting permission to come aboard. She wishes to personally see us off." Rostov smiled. "Permission granted, Commander. Arrange an honor guard." As preparations for departure continued around her admiral, Kyla Rostov allowed herself a moment of quiet pride, not just in the victory achieved, but in what it represented. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not through conquest or intimidation, but through the willingness to stand in defense of others. The Deathworlders' reputation for tenacity and strength, once a source of fear, was becoming a beacon of hope. And as the Earth fleet prepared to face the Crimson Swarm once more, they carried with them a new sense of purpose. The Deathworlders promised to use their hard-won strength, not for domination, but for protection. A promise that would echo across the stars, changing the course of galactic history. One battle, one alliance, one saved civilization at a time. The future that awaited them would be filled with challenges. The swarm was only one of many threats in a vast and often hostile universe. But for the first time, humanity faced that future, not as isolated survivors of a harsh world, but as integrated members of a greater community. Their evolution on Earth, with all its hardships and struggles, had prepared them not just to endure, but to defend. Not just to survive, but to ensure the survival of others. As the Thermopylae's engines hummed to life, signaling the imminent departure of the fleet, Admiral Rostov made a silent vow. The Battle of Lumina would be remembered not as the conclusion of humanity's journey into the galactic community, but as its true beginning. The Deathworlders had answered an alien SOS with the full force of their fleet, and in doing so had found their calling among the stars.